Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Overlanding. My name is Adrian Abrahams and it's been 90,000 kilometers and 3 years since I bought this Toyota Hilux. Today I'm going to be doing a detailed walk around of the Hilux, going top to toe on everything and everything in between. There's a lot on this vehicle, so I'll be breaking everything up into chapters below on YouTube, and you can pick and choose the parts if you want to see anything specific, or sit down, relax and enjoy the entire episode. Why did I pick a Hilux? And am I actually happy with the vehicle after all of these years? Well, to be honest, I'm actually very happy. I went for a 2.4 automatic GD6. It's got 4x4, it's got a factory rear locking diff, it's incredibly capable off-road, it's smooth running, it's got enough power. A lot of people have asked me if I would have rather have gone for the 2.8. Well, obviously I would have. More power is always better, and you can never underestimate more displacement. So it is one of those things that the vehicle has still been able to obviously be kitted out like a monster. It still does pretty decent mileage. It still is incredibly capable. And even though it's a 2.4, ticked all the boxes up to this point. So can't really complain much. The thing that I would have liked is just a little bit more grunt, a bit more torque to carry the weight of the vehicle. Would have been nice, but I've made a few tweaks like the Snorkel, a remap and a straight through exhaust, so it's pretty good at the moment. Actually, I must say I'm very happy with where it's driving at the moment. In terms of the overall double cab versus any sort of single cab, extra cab, I love the double cab because this is my only vehicle. So if I want to go and drive to the mountains and take my brother and my nephew and go and have a weekend camping, or just drive down to the shops or something like that, it's nice to be able to have the seats. But at the same time, when I'm doing a lot of touring, like now I've done, you know, about 60,000 kilometers in the past year and a half. And that's where it's really nice to be able to take out the rear seat, put in a rear seat delete, and I've got an extra fridge and a whole bunch of other stuff in there. So in terms of that, the double cab is really nice and it serves a lot of purpose. Would I like a single cab or extra cab? Absolutely. I would love that. I think the weight distribution is better, having a lot more of your load towards the middle of the vehicle. I think you get a massive canopy where you can just store all sorts of stuff in there. But you're going to see, we're going to walk around this vehicle and it's quite impressive how much space this vehicle has, especially since we did the tray conversion. Now up front, this is where some of the components that have been on the vehicle consistently for the past 3 years live. We've got the Onca Delta bar up front with the Smitty built winch, bash plates, Rocksliders. Those have been absolutely awesome on this vehicle. I think the look is amazing, but not only that, they've been super practical and useful. For example, the bash plate, good old dent in that, good old dent in the Rocksliders. The bumper's got a few little scratches and nicks and things like that from my bad parking, but other than that, they've been pretty damn awesome. The winch has been great when I've needed it. Otherwise, I haven't really used it much, to be honest. I've used it maybe 3 times. I need to probably give it a service and just keep it in good condition. I think that's the tricky thing when you're not using winches all the time, is keeping it all good. We have upgraded a few things on it over the years. So in here we've got Hardkorr spotlights in those little square cube lights. We've got Hardkorr, the BZR-180Xs on here, also very nice, big upgrade from what I had on here before. Engine bay wise, still all pretty simple. There's a few things that I have added. I would say maybe 2 years ago, we added the Flashlube Catch Can and a 30 micron pre-diesel filter, which just helps separate water and take out any big bits of dirt and things like that. The 30 micron filter also has a little water trap on it, so if you do get water in your diesel, you can tap that off. I've got it wired to a little light on the dash, and that light lights up if there's any water in there, which is cool, giving me a nice heads up. I have then also installed an EGT gauge in the exhaust manifold. That is a red arc EGT and boost gauge, so boost is connected to that side, EGT probe is here, and that runs into the cab as well. And that gives me a live view of EGTs and boosts, so I can see what's kind of happening in the engine and how it's running and make sure that it's happy for many years to come. And service-wise, we have serviced this vehicle for 90,000 kilometers now on Terrain Tamer filter kits. So that includes an air filter, the diesel filter, oil filter, and then every now and then I do an extra filter for the 30 micron, and really every 40,000 or so Ks do a new catch can filter. It's done some work and I'm very glad it's in there. It's one of those things, actually, the sooner you get it in the better, just to prevent any sort of carbon buildup inside the engine from all those crankcase gases and everything like that getting all gunky in there. It's been good. Toyota Airbox leaks dust pretty bad on the Hilux, so we have gone and installed a Terrain Tamer airbox gasket, which has helped a bit. And obviously now doing the whole Armax Snorkel, that's another modification to the airbox. So I think all in all, it's helped with the rigidity, you know, doing the gasket and doing the Snorkel. I'm hoping, you know, dust is a killer for a diesel. And considering we're running turbochargers with, you know, increased boost and all that stuff on there, we're pushing a lot of air through the system. So any extra dust that gets past the air filter really can cause havoc on the engine down the line. And that's the thing, it's down the line. These cars work in tough conditions, so you've got to take a little bit of extra precaution here and there. On that side there, something that's really cool is the Garmin Powerswitch. That is operating my spotlights, which are still run through a relay and linked to the high beams so that I can activate them in the vehicle on high beam, which is very nice. But you don't have to do that. You can then have it just wired through the power switch, which is a relay system. So if you want to just install a set of lights, you don't want any fancy switching and things like that, you can have that on there. That links to your Garmin or onto your phone, and you can switch on and off digitally from there. And you can dim lights, you can do all sorts of things, flashing, strobing. It's actually very, very cool. That also runs my radio, it runs my work lights, it runs a few other little things here and there, my 12-volt accessories and stuff for inside the car. It's really nice because if I'm lying in my rooftop tent at night and I want to switch on my work lights because there's an animal outside or something, I can just do that from my phone. The app is very responsive and I've never had any sort of issues with connectivity or anything like that. It's been very, very nice. So that's been a seamless changeover. It's designed to be in the rough and handle all the tough conditions and stuff. So it gets dirty and stuff like that, but it's made for it. In terms of anything else in here, there's not too much extra. I upsized the factory battery by one size just to help a little bit with cranking and running all the stuff, and maybe, you know, upgrading an alternator or something somewhere along the line if it gives trouble would be a good idea. But otherwise, she's been good. She's been real good. I think this poor engine works really hard, and especially, you know, carrying this heavy vehicle around everywhere, always, it doesn't ever lighten up. So it's a lot of strain on the engine. I think it's important to replace oil often. We service every basically 5 to 10,000 kilometers, somewhere in between there. So far, so good. Before we move on to all of the fun stuff at the back, there's some pretty crucial things going on here. Now, when you modify a vehicle as far as I have, there's a few things suffer. One of those things is your brakes. And right in the beginning, we put on the Power Brake Big Brake Kit because I knew this vehicle was going to be doing a lot of heavy overlanding. It was going to be loaded up, and safety is a #1 priority. Big Brake Kit has been on here for now basically 90,000 kilometers, and it's still got life in it. So these have lasted incredibly well. The performance has been exceptional, and it's really something that I hope to have on all of my 4x4s going on in the future. And with the power brakes, I've also never had any brake fade. I've never had to be worried or concerned about my brakes. They've always been there. It's been very reliable. It's something I've never had to worry about. And to be honest, I was just servicing the car the other day and I was looking at it and I was like, geez, maybe it's going to be time to change discs and stuff soon. So I've already got the next pair waiting at home for me when I come back and finish this whole big trip that I can go and replace, put new discs and brake pads on. And this truck is going to be good until almost 300,000 kilometers on the odo, which is crazy. So tire-wise, I'm running the General Grabber 80X at the moment. Prior to these, I had the 83s on, and I used those for about 55,000 kilometers, and I went all across the country. I went into Namibia. I had some pretty amazing adventures through some incredibly remote places and never had a day's hassle with them. So they're amazing on-road, off-road, everything. Now I've changed to the 80X. It's a bit more of a rugged tire, got a bit more of an open tread pattern and a bit more heavy duty sidewalls. So these have now done 20,000 kilometers so far, I'd say. I mean, going through Van Sales Pass, the whole of northern Namibia, up into Zambia. I really put these through some serious abuse and they've performed exceptionally well. If you're doing very remote travel and spending a lot of time on gravel, then I really think the 80Xs are the way to go. And they're so well mannered on road. You don't have a lot of loud cabin noise or anything like that. It's the exact same volume on my radio as between these and the 83. These look a lot nicer as well. And I know that is a factor for some people, you know, when you're putting tires on a car. But I think for the everyday person, the 83 is something really nice. It's a bit more affordable than these. It's still no slouch off-road, and the safety on-road and the noise and stuff is excellent. So if you're looking for something a bit more rugged, 80X, without a doubt. This is, for me, why I went with this tire, is because I'm doing a lot more remote travel at the moment, and I'm spending a lot more days on gravel roads, and I just want that peace of mind, you know, with a bit of a tougher tire. The tires are sitting on Procomp Predator 35 17-inch rims. They've been really tough. I've absolutely hammered them, and they've performed exceptionally well. I like the look. It's been, you know, really awesome to have a good quality set of wheels. Would I like to change to something new? Yeah, sure, I wouldn't mind freshen up on the vehicle, but to be honest, these have done so well. They've earned their place. A new little addition are these quick deflate valves. They are quite amazing. Check this out. Woo! That is serious. These deflate the tires incredibly fast. These are apex valves. If you are in a lot of sand and you want to quickly deflate your tires, these are amazing. I've found I put the ARB digital tire deflator on there, and that gives me the reading, and then I just open up that valve and just let all the air out that I need, and it updates pretty quick on the tire pressure monitor there, and then I can just stop it at the pressure that I want. It works very well. So suspension on vehicles like these is crucial. You start moving into quite high weight thresholds when you start looking at trays and things like that, not just because of the weight of the tray itself, but because of the increase in space you get inside. And when you're running at around that GVM and potentially even slightly over your GVM, you need to then look at something like a GVM upgrade kit. Now in South Africa, legally the GVM upgrade kit isn't really worth much, but in terms of safety and handling of the vehicle, a GVM upgrade kit is massive. So I'm running one of the highest GVM upgrade kits you can do on a Hilux. In Australia, this would be at around, I think, 3.4 ton, but we've got a few little extra things in there as well to help control the vehicle a little bit better. So front and rear, I'm running the Terrain Tamer Pro shock absorbers, which are compression adjustable and serviceable shocks, which is really nice. They've really performed really well, especially through some very tough sandy conditions where the shock absorbers are just flexing like crazy, and you know, they're having to dampen all of the force and keep this vehicle under control. So far they've performed incredibly well. On the back we actually have some experimental valving, so we've actually tweaked the valving on the rear shock absorbers a little bit just to play around with getting some better performance. So we've got the valving from a Land Cruiser in the back here, and that has definitely helped with some of the additional rebound, but it has given it a bit of a harder ride. So probably somewhere between a Hilux and a Land Cruiser is the sweet spot for the valving for these shock absorbers. Front end, we've had to do nothing. The 2.4 is about 60 kilos lighter than the 2.8 up front. So we're on the lightest spec smart coil on the front from Terrain Tamer, which I think is from a Toyota Fortuner. And then in terms of leaf springs on the back, we're running parabolic leaf springs, but we are running the fortified leaf spring pack, which is a 700 kilo plus leaf spring pack. When I've got this setup cranked up, I've got the rear shock set on 8, I've got the front on 8, I've got everything tapped out, the vehicle's full on water, full on diesel, full on food, it drives really well and it feels super safe. There's no scary body roll when you're overtaking or any sort of boatiness when you're braking and cornering. It is very stable, and honestly it's even maybe a bit sporty. So that's really nice. And then because of the parabolics and the adjustable shock absorbers, when I'm not on a trip and I'm missing that 75 liters, 85 liters of water, I don't have 145 liters of diesel in the car, and I don't have 2 fridges full, that's a lot of variable weight just in liquid weight. It's not a problem at all to just deduct 300 kilos off of this car. It still drives really nicely when you're driving around town and stuff like that. You just wouldn't think it drives the way it does looking the way it does. So no, I must say, very impressed. So let's see why we've needed to make these upgrades to the brakes and the suspension. Here we've got the Mtech X series tray and canopy. This has an integrated 75-litre water tank, trundle drawer. It's 2 of these cupboards, one on either side. You know, I've got some diesel additive here, a jack, a few lubes and tubes. Other side I've got a chainsaw and some hoses and stuff like that, and a few wooden blocks just for if I ever need to jack up the vehicle or anything like that and it's on thick sand or a weird angle. Inside here we've got a lot going on. Stand up 85-litre fridge. We've got drawer systems. So this is like a kitchen drawer, the little slide out table. We've got an air fryer, a coffee machine, braaiing stuff, firewood, an insane 12-volt system that I'll have to run you over in a dedicated segment. But just the quality of life that the tray has brought to my camping experience is nuts. It's just everything is so accessible and easy to get to. I mean, a little fridge stocked up. We've got our juices and some beers. We've got a little freezer up here, which is just chugging away, keeping everything nice and frosty. And I'm just trying to remember the other day how many days I've done, but I'm pretty sure I've clocked over 100 days this year alone camping out of this vehicle. And the vehicle has definitely not been my limitation. It's actually so fast and easy to use and to get to, and cooking in multiple different environments and conditions, and it's pretty amazing. Let me run you through the other side there, because we've got another big storage bin on the other side. That's also where we keep the lithium batteries and a few other little knickknacks there. So one of the things that changes massively when you put a tray on is just the amount of space you have inside. It's crazy. Like this drawer here, because of the stand-up fridge, you get this extra long drawer. I mean, here's the inside of an ammo box, for example. So you've got basically three and a half, 4 ammo boxes worth of storage space in one drawer. Then you've got that all on top of it as well. So like here, I've changed to a super comfy chair. It's huge, takes up a lot of space, but it's not very heavy. Because I've got volume in the tray, I can fit stuff that's big and bulky that normally you wouldn't be able to fit. And that means you just bring a little bit more comfort and luxury with you when you're out camping. I could still fit easily another 1 or 2 of these chairs. I've got a stretcher in here. Say, for example, you didn't want a rooftop tent setup and you're going just with 2 stretchers, a tent, and 2 camping chairs. You're going to easily fit that in here. And then when that's all set up, you've got a massive amount of space in here for storage when you're actually at camp. We've also got a little storage box here, which is a very simple system. All this does is house basically the heart and soul of this vehicle, and what I'm calling the very spicy 12-volt system. In here is 2 200 amp hour Evo charge batteries. That means that's 5 kV of storage, which is pretty crazy. And inside here I also got a few other things. I've got the air compressor, I've got some spare recovery equipment, some spares, just some like terrain tamer spares, radiator hose kit, some spare diesel filters, some spare fan belts, stuff like that. I've got a tire repair kit, got the Araby digital tire deflator, Araby air compressor, my cables and stuff in here, and on the back here is basically a wooden board that's got all the 12-volt wiring and stuff on it and a spare charger. All of this is for this beautiful system over here. So it's all managed through the Red Arc TVMS Prime, which is basically a 80 amp distribution block with all sorts of amazing tech. So you've got all your switching and stuff in here. You've got monitoring the input and output from the inverter and from all auxiliaries, and plus your charging from solar and everything. So it's pretty damn cool. I've also got water tank sensors on here, so I can monitor the water tank and just check how much water I actually have in the vehicle, which is awesome. I think that's especially really nice for the tray. When you look at what's actually charging this, you've got the Manager 30, which is giving me 30 amps DC power from the alternator, or 30 amps solar, or 30 amps AC power from the back of the vehicle, which is a very nice variety of different ways of charging up. And then what I've done is I've bulked up the 12-volt system with an additional BCDC 1225 core. So that's a 25 amp DC charger, which I'm running basically only solar into right now. So it puts no additional strain on my alternator, but when we're driving, the Manager 30 throws all 30 amps at the end at the battery, and then the solar pumps in as well. So I can hit about 45 to 50 amps while driving on a nice sunny day, and it puts no additional strain on the alternator whatsoever, which is pretty awesome. Now, something this is where the spiciness comes in, that added to this whole thing is a 3000 watt red arc inverter. Yes, 3000 watts. That's a lot of power. So basically I can run a small apartment with the amount of power I have. It serves a purpose. It really does serve a purpose. Like, I can run my coffee machine and my air fryer at the same time. I can run my induction and my air fryer at the same time. The 3000 watt, if you genuinely want to use your vehicle to cook and do everything off of, and you're going to invest the time and money into doing a 5 kilowatt system, you want to be able to cook with electricity as much as possible. And real life cooking requires you to do multiple things at the same time. There's enough power here that I can be cooking some sweet potato fries in the air fryer, and I can be braising some chicken, and then I can be cooking some rice or vegetables on the induction. You know, you can really use the system, and there's more than enough battery capacity that you can do that for basically 2 evenings worth, and have your coffee in the morning with the coffee machine and everything. So there's plenty of power. It's pretty awesome because it just changes how you use your vehicle. You know, this vehicle is a multi-tool. It's not just about going camping and having a holiday. This system is also about, I need to work when I'm out in the bush. I need to be comfortable, because you know, spending 100 days in the bush and it's just like roughing it, and you have to do your job and work, and that's where, you know, you're like, I'm ready to go home now. So far with this vehicle, the only times I've had that I'm ready to go home now is because of me. It's got nothing to do with the setup getting frustrating or not giving me what I need. I must say it's been really awesome. And more often than not, when I get to a campsite and I'm camping with buddies, or I'm camping with basically anyone, they're over at my vehicle charging stuff and running things, and you're like, oh, their gas bottle's frozen up and they can't boil water in the morning. Boom, the induction plate comes out, and it's just amazing how versatile this setup is, and how this whole setup and this whole tray can change overnight to, you know, 4 people's worth of luggage. And you know, you could put 2 little rooftop tents on, one on the cab, one on the canopy, and you could go and have an awesome holiday with 4 people. Or you could, you know, put a 200 amp hour battery instead of 4 and run another fridge in the back here. And you can put a drop down slide fridge. You can do so much stuff. And we've really played with a lot of different concepts, like with Bushtech and the tray. And we've just found that the most valuable thing is having space that's open and clear with cargo, you know, that you can tie down, because you can just put whatever you want in here. We've really enjoyed the upright fridge because the access is easy, it's cost effective, and it's not that different to a chest fridge in terms of like stuff flying around and things like that. You'd think it's a lot worse, but I mean, if you put things in a chest fridge and you're not careful about how you place it, you can have a mess. I've actually cleaned my fridge, my little Engel chest fridge there, like 3 or 4 times since I've gotten it, because I don't fill it to the brim. You sort of just pack stuff in there. So what I like with the stand-up fridge is at least it's organized. So there's a couple great options. I think Engel also have a stand-up fridge as well, and they're all really nice. And we've tried, you know, with Bushtech to make a canopy that fits all those different fridges. So in terms of, you know, how the amount of testing we put into the things and how much we chop and change and try new things, this tray has had, I don't know, I think we've rebuilt it 3 or 4 times. And we've moved things around and we've done a few things. And what you're seeing right now in this setup is sort of a refinement in terms of what's really nice to have, and having luxury at the same time as being super practical, as light as possible, and really damn strong. Like, you can take this tray and just go and slash it out there. And that's, I mean, I've put some abusive mileage on the system, and it just takes it and takes it and takes it. Everything is incredibly robust, but it's not overly heavy because a lot of the components are manufactured out of aluminium. So it's actually a really impressive setup, and I must say it's really changed how I camp and how I overland. And this would be a very difficult setup to say no to or to go away from. For people looking to just like take their setup to the next level, this is definitely one way to do that. So upstairs we've got the Alucab Gen 3R rooftop tent, and mounted to that we have the 270-degree shadow awning, and on the other side is their shower cube. The combo is awesome. The tent, we kitted out a little bit with some few little goodies inside. So it's got the drop down table and it's got the lift up backrest. It's turned the space into a little sitting area when the weather isn't so great, like a day like today, and as well as making it a bit of a workspace. So it's been really nice on trips when I'm having to kind of keep going, and you know, in the evening I'll sit up there and I'll copy all my footage, back it up, make sure everything's safe and secure. The table also gives you a second layer of basically, you know, storage when you're in there. So you can put your phone and your keys and your laptop and all sorts of stuff in there, and you can still go to sleep at night. You're not losing things down the side of the mattress or whatever. You know, it works really nicely. The backrest has been really nice for when you're actually wanting to sit and work at the table, or if you just want to chill a little bit. I think it's changed how long I can be on the road, because it gives me just that little bit of space where I can get away from the elements and everything and hide away and do a bit of work and just take a little bit of time to myself. So I must say that's been really nice. Another cool thing with the Gen 3R is that this awning over here can actually fold and roll up, and that's actually how I've used it for over 100 nights. Now what that means is that when you're lying there and it's a beautiful evening, clear skies, you can lie in your tent and stare up at the beautiful stars, and it's absolutely awesome. I really like that. You'll see also on the Alucab, the pitch of the tent is really high, so when you get inside it feels big. It's a lot more roomy in there because the wedge is actually bigger, so it gives you a lot more headroom and it makes the whole area feel a lot more spacious. There's also a couple pouches inside there where you can put some things. I've got a fan that lives in there permanently because obviously I'm driving 1,000, 2,000 kilometers sometimes in a couple days, and you move from one biome to another and one weather system to another weather system. So like now it's supposed to be 35 degrees out here in Botswana, but it's actually 12 and it's pretty chilly. So at night I've got my electric blanket on, and when it does hit 35 the electric blanket goes off and the fan turns on. So that whole system in there, I've got 3 blankets which basically I use for different sort of weather conditions. I've got my pillows up there. All of that stuff lives up there permanently, and I can just change it around depending on the weather. Now speaking of weather, there's also the Alucab shadow awning, the 270-degree awning that wraps around the vehicle, and that has been brilliant. It's made of this reflective material which helps bounce away some of the heat, and you really feel it. And also it sets up nice and high. It's got the little leg that you kick up which helps with a bit of moisture and rain and stuff like that, but I also find it elevates the ceiling height, and that helps make it feel a lot cooler underneath the awning, which is really nice on those days when it's just cooking. Now another thing with the awning is you do not need to deploy any legs, which I've found really nice. It makes your camp feel a bit bigger as well because you're not having to worry about poles or legs or anything like that. But it does have some easy to use kind of tie down straps if you need to. But I've tested it in some pretty harsh conditions and it stands up to pretty much almost any normal weather outside of the Western and Eastern Cape. Then on the other side, the little shower cube, that's been awesome. It's actually a really cleverly designed little setup because you open it up, it clicks out nice and easy, and then it leaves a little shelf space up there. So you can actually put your shampoo, you can put my glasses, your body wash, whatever up there, and I take the little hose from the water pump on the tray and I just chuck that over, and I have had a good couple showers there. It's really nice after a long hot day on the road, And if you've been out and moving rocks and stuff when you're 4x4ing and you're dirty, it's really nice to have a good little shower at the end of the day. It's got a little zip out, so I crack the door open, push that open, and then inside I've got my clothing bag. I can just, once I'm done showering, open up, get all my clothes out, get changed inside there. There's no like running in and out to try and prepare yourself, because I always forget something. So yeah, no, it's been really nice, easy to use. So far I've been very impressed with the Alucab stuff. It's performed exceptionally well, and I've put it through some tough stuff. And then on top of the tent, I'm running two 180 watt solar panels from Red Arc. I'm still running the little easy on roof rack on the front of the cab, little dinky one, just big enough to fit some max track, some firewood, whatever. If I need to put extra jerry cans on there, I can as well. I keep it pretty lightweight and simple. Usually everyone wants to put their firewood on the front roof rack, so it works really well, does what it needs to. And then next to that I got little Hardkorr work lights, one on either side, which is then connected up to the Garmin Powerswitch. The interior of the vehicle, I'm running these awesome Tackler seat covers. Very, very nice, still made out of Mtech in beige. They do get quite dirty, but that's why you have seat covers. So when you're running around and you're in the bush, you can't always make sure that your pants are clean or whatever. You just got to do what you got to do. When it starts raining or it's muddy or it's sandy, it's just one of those things. I'm always confident that I can just hop in the car. I never have to think about it, you know. So I've got the transmission tunnel cover, and I've also got the tack mats in here. So it gives a good amount of protection to the interior of the vehicle, which I love, and just keeps it good, you know, after all of those kilometers. This is my second set because I did a bit of a rebranding, but the first set were actually still fine as well. The Mtech wears incredibly well, so it takes a long time for it to look dodgy. I think with the beige, it's a lighter color, it's gonna get dirty faster. So they've got a new seat cover now. I think it's called the River Rock range, which looks very impressive, and I might consider changing to something a bit darker next time. But I do love the light beige feeling when you get in the car, and it just feels brighter and bigger inside. So it's going to be a tough one, but I know with Tackler I'll always have good seat covers, so whichever one I go with, I'll be stoked. Now, with regards to some few other things here, obviously I've got the rear seat delete in the back. So I've got the Engel 40-litre fridge. Now, why I've got the Engel 40-litre fridge is actually quite a funny story, because I left for my Zambia trip and I didn't have a fridge in the back of the car at the time. And I was leaving the next day, and I just went I was at Bushtech, we were sorting out a few little things, and I asked Robbie there. He's like, Robbie, don't you have a little fridge for me just to put in the back? He's like, yeah, he's got this old Engel. It's like 13, 14 years old. He's like, he hasn't turned it on in a couple of years. He's not sure if it's working or whatever. I was like, oh, okay, no, it's fine, but you know, we'll just pop it in. So we popped it in, little gold one. It had lived a life. You could see it had its battle scars. So awesome. I switched that thing on. I put it on -15, and it just 50 days later, it was still at -15. It did the whole of Zambia, northern Namibia, some pretty hectic trails, and just chugged away there. Had 2 bags of ice in it all the time, and it had a whack of meat in it, and it just did an excellent job. And when I came back, I was like, that's the little fridge that I want. So I got in touch with 4x4 Mega World, and we arranged this Engel MTV, and so far so good. I love the new color. It's excellent. The quality of Engel is pretty damn incredible, speaks for itself. So very stoked to have one of those in the car. Now, when it comes to the little things, obviously we've got the EGT gauge in here, and we've got the Garmin Tread XL Overland Edition, which for me, it's been awesome. I really enjoy it. I've got stuff like my backup camera and everything hooked up here. I've got the Garmin Powerswitch stuff on here, which is really cool because you can actually have it on your map as a little sidecar on the map. So you can, you know, while you're navigating, switch on your radio, your spotlights, whatever you want to do on here, work lights, just like that. That's so cool. Love that. This has also got the InReach built in, so you can track your trips, you can send InReach messages, all sorts of stuff on here. And I like the route planner because I go and I kind of pre-build my trips before I leave. That's been working really, really well for me. I've tracked all my trips so far with this, and right now, since I put this particular one in the vehicle, we are sitting on 33,000 kilometers. I've got a bit of experience using it, and I must say, I've been very, very happy with it so far. I think like with any navigation stuff, you need to have backup systems in place. You always need to use multiple maps. Not every map has all of the information and is up to date or understands what time of year it is. So it is one of those things where consulting locals and finding about water levels and which roads have closed recently, or these are things you've got to do anyway. This is your due diligence as an overlander, is to understand and communicate with people about the roads and which routes are best to take. What's nice with this is that you can easily go and drop little magnets and stuff for the route to track across. So you can set point A and point B, but if you want to navigate a certain direction, like someone says, no, you need to stick on the R66 and then turn on there and then there, that's the best way to get there, then you can just go in, find R66, and you can plot it that way if the GPS hasn't taken that route already. It's a very interesting thing when it comes to navigation, but at the end of the day, you know, a good mix of paper maps, stuff like Tracks for Africa, iOverlander, having the Garmin as well, you know, having as many different resources as possible, and if you check them and all three of them say the same thing, then chances are you're going to be taking the right route. But there's also just the beauty of exploration and sometimes bumbling down somewhere and finding something cool. I think that's also been a lot of fun. This is what I do all of my main messaging and stuff on, because the InReach Mini 2 actually comes with the Messenger app, and you can basically connect up your phone and send messages through here on your phone just like normal texting. I've got the unlimited plan for Garmin InReach, so that means I can just message from here as much as I want, and I can keep in touch with basically everybody back at home if I need to. I will also pull weather updates and stuff like that from this. I like to have an InReach Mini because if I leave the vehicle, this comes with me, and it's got about 4 or 5 days of battery life while tracking, which is pretty cool. So even if I go on a hike or something like that, or I can take this and give it to Andy and he can go on a hike or whatever. Personally, big fan of the InReach Mini 2. Really, really like that. Obviously with the tread, it comes with your InReach built in already, so you don't have to get a Mini 2 if you're getting a tread, but most people have an InReach Mini before they get something like the Tread XL. So you don't have to activate both. You can just use the little one if you want. But if you want the full integration and the full, you know, working experience on the Tread XL, you can have 2 profiles if you want. Otherwise, yeah, it's pretty simple in here. I've got a few filming doodads and stuff like that, but I try to keep it simple in here, not waste too much space. I've got my first aid kit here, my Wild Medics first aid kit. Nice and accessible. If I need to get it, I just grab it and go. If something happens, the car rolls or whatever, I've at least got some stuff with me in here. Another great thing is my little ouchie pouch, which I use far too much. Cuts and burns and stupid little things like that. I use that often for myself. And that just stock that up with some of the stuff from Wild Medics. I actually need to go and do like a re-catch up on my wilderness first responder training, because it's almost been 2 years since I went and did that. Crazy. I think that's going to be something really fun to go and do in 2024. Yeah, but I think that's pretty much everything here. Let me hop outside quick and finish this all up. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed having a look at my ultimate Hilux. Been an absolute privilege to drive this thing all across Southern Africa. Thoroughly enjoy it. I have linked everything that you've seen in this video down below in the description, and I've divided everything on chapters. So if you want to go and look back at something, or you want to go and do some further research on any of the stuff that I've put on here, you are more than welcome to go and do that down in the description below. And I just want to say thank you to all the amazing product partners who have gotten involved on this vehicle build over the years. It's been a pretty awesome journey, and I think we've all made something pretty incredible here. This vehicle has still got a lot of life left in it, and it still has many adventures still to come. Maybe it won't be the star of the show anymore. Who knows? We'll see what happens in the future. But for now, this Hilux still has some missions, and some amazing adventures ahead of it. I'll see you on the next adventure. Thank you so much for watching. Cheers.